102. We will not prevent the next 100 Murder Incorporated wars, or one soon going nuclear, or win our disarmament peace treaty, or find water supplies for billions of faucets about to go dry, if few or none of the world's 195 governments enact and enforce constitutional and treaty bans of presidential war, stop corrupted Congress World War arms bills, and ban 25,000 miles around direct weapons sales, and order every bomb and bullet unsent, indeed unmade, without congressional declarations of war, that we family guardian and world-loving voters restrict to defense against invasion, itself someday impossible to mount from our largely disarmed world. Disarmament peace law will fully succeed just as 10,000 years of short-lived, giant arsenal, lawless tyrant ceasefires always failed. Actually, today's topic is tyranny's other ways to blow us all to life shreds. Not with TNT and uranium bombs, but monetized corruption and bribery made ever more legal. If you call abandoning and attacking, not protecting and defending every constitution legal. No, on second thought, after 101 chapters of horror stories proving new laws you gotta win, I finally kicked that compulsive habit. Just kidding. Reform law is my heroin. They'll find me dead with the syringe hanging out of my arm. Within days of inauguration, President Trump fired 15,000 worldwide U.S. aid for international development employees, leaving 500. Billions of tons of grain now rots on worldwide docks. 30 million AIDS patients cut off from their antiretrovirals explode towards a 100-year Holocaust, and scores of nations' hospitals will soon collapse without salaries or supplies. Just the same millennia-old story. A dictator elevated to lawless total power, bigotry and cruelty, rampages through world society, not just across the usual fields and communities of war slaughter. 120-nation U.S. aid destroyer Trump hammers his cruelty and murder. I want scum of non-white color, non-Christian religion, under foreign flags to die fast or agonizingly slower. He had to be pleased that 300 babies today born to HIV-positive mothers without the transmission-blocking medicine that Trump cut off are now infected. Surely soon to die without the effective AIDS treatments that he took away from them too. Like Hitler did, he calls innocent but inferior millions deserving misery and death vermin. I've detailed how monsters like him will no longer rise to the top of uncorrupted, lawful, democratic, peaceful, charitable governments that you will design and win. How was he able to machine gun to death a 64-year-old American foreign aid institution of mercy and salvation, congressionally formed and annually funded, in less than 24 hours? Our Constitution orders 100% of government financial to physical action to continue only by congressional appropriations. Every founder of most nations limited presidents to faithfully execute those laws, follow our representatives' directions, and spend citizens' taxes, not destroy the people's laws, refuse their directions, fire those the people hired, impound our money, and murder the necessary formed institutions. Before he was forced from office, the second most criminal American president, Richard Nixon, also took a meat axe to the people's laws against his oath to carry them out. Soon Congress passed the 1974 Impoundment Control Act, fleshing out our Constitution's order. No, you don't, Mr. President, not King. A provision of this law, in my opinion, flagrantly unconstitutional, allows the president to pause spending up to 45 days while he or she asks Congress to rewrite law to approve the cuts, which Congress may vote up or down as fast as they can, or do nothing until day 46, when the president must resume 100% compliance with existing law. The only constitutional law would just allow the president to beg Congress to vote for another, leaner bill desired by the chief executive, who keeps his hands off of our money until they do, and is prohibited from firing any staff that he does not immediately replace. Nothing in the Constitution or the Impoundment Control Law legalizes presidential assassination of giant swaths of government that our Congresses formed and fund. Besides his 20-megaton obliteration of foreign aid, absent any request, explanation, and justification sent to Congress, Trump is firing or retiring hundreds of thousands throughout our domestic government. The 100% that he cannot abide, modest, independent professionals unwilling to break laws at his command. He fired 17 inspector generals charged with rooting out corruption that Trump lies that he opposes. In fact, he booms filth to enrich self and cronies. Only your law would protect our IGs from the executioner king's sword. What did Trump's $500 million donation from Elon Musk buy the world's richest man? Besides leadership of a new Department of Governmental Efficiency, claiming license to rip into thousands of Congress-authorized and funded departments and fire the giant chunks of government that interfered with Trump's first-term power grabs by outrageously serving the public citizenry, not kowtowing to the dictator. King Musk set about gutting the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, ruining their advancement of multiple investigations and lawsuits against clearly evident racist employer Elon. His second banana, Donald, is the man reported by many to call blacks the N-word at like-minded private gatherings, sneer at Africa's shithole nations, and call anti-Semites chanting, "Jews will not replace us," very fine people. My theme, your reform, you get before the end of this story. Ban private bribery of public leaders and candidates. Every last misnamed campaign donation. This first month of his second term, the president tore apart the Federal Election Commission, about to nail his pal Elon for handing out million-dollar checks to be divvied up among prospective new Republican voter registrants known to love MAGA-2 Trump. Why? Just a little rule against paying anyone to register to vote. Donald also destroyed the Office of Government Ethics, homing in on Elon's seizing lists of FBI and CIA agents involuntarily assigned to look into Trump's election-stealing activities. Only desperate lawsuits have temporarily slowed actual publication of those innocent, faithful public servants, specifically inviting terror Trumpistas to threaten their spouses and children with death. Mr. I am your retribution wasn't just whistling Dixie. Pure coincidence, he would say, that I ripped apart the Office of Government Ethics below any remaining enforcement ability. Better, more just governments abound with watchdog agencies charged with finding and stopping and building guardrails against top officials' penchant for tyranny and corruption. Can anybody explain to me why the mighty overpowering top dogs over executive branches in so many nations get to choose, fire, and not replace the public servants charged with spotting and kicking those foxes out of our hen houses? I know 10-year-olds bright enough to write laws to stop this shit. Can you say independent agencies hired by professional commissions, long tenure ended only by dangerous misbehavior or corruption of their own? Hands off, especially belonging to bosses under supervision, suspicion, and investigation. But police working for crooks is anti-justice. How many of my speeches don't tell you to sue against fully corrupted government actions only booming benefit to a few business bosses empowering and capturing legislators, executives, and regulators while destroying up to 100% of the public, and finally their own idiot selves and families? All while lying like dogs that they're lawfully helping us all. Donald Trump swept into office touting his grand plan to end government waste and fraud, to carve the behemoth now crushing our grandkids with debt, exploding past $37 trillion, down to size. He kept quiet about his bill, close to passage now, to jack the bill to $50 trillion with billionaire handouts. The general public, and probably he, do not know that business bribery of leaders borrowed every dollar, as did it cause more than that entire debt to be spent on evil, greedy, unnecessary world war. Few know that entitlement programs stupidly allowed to keep massively paying out to ever more seniors from diminishing young workers' tax payments, Congress and President refusing for decades the small, gradual age eligibility increases and other fixes in fear of losing votes from a public deliberately not educated about onrushing doomsday when every benefit will be slashed 30%. While our entire government and economy will be crushed under the load that no one can carry any heavier and longer. never learning the truth or the solutions. We believe that Trump is going to save us all, led by Elon Musk, who paid his campaign $1.5 billion to make him co-president. Our selfless savior surely setting aside his own monstrous businesses. Then Musk, with power taken over Trump, activated his Department of Government Efficiency, legally empowered only to advise Congress that certain new spending cut laws are needed to unbloat unsustainable government. Instead, though, he set his handful of 19 to 23-year-old computer nerd and hacker employees plundering records and payout computer systems across the fraction of discretionary spending government, way too small to trim to even slow government increase. It was, though, plenty big and important enough to twist secretly and illegally to Mr. Musk's private business benefit. Spring 2025 update. Musk and Trump are now firing Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security staff by the tens of thousands, threatening tens of millions of us with bankruptcy and sometimes death. The $15 billion government contractor is redesigning our government towards his next $30 billion public biz bonanza while destroying most regulation needed to keep him from maximizing his profits by abusing and stealing from the American people. The 10,000th story of private robbery of public government money, duty, and care. Indeed, now the biggest and most blatant. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, for a good while, has been finalizing plans to complete investigation of Elon's new business ventures, appearing to arrange serious public harm to ever explode the world's richest man's loot until he gets a frickin' trillion. Serious restriction, regulation, and law from the CFPB was fully forming and pending against Elon. So naturally, Musk's kids knocked down every door, and without a shred of legal authorization, just presidential muscle announced, "We're shutting you down. 100% of rulemaking actions and power frozen." The ensuing lawsuit against Trump and Elon's exploding tyranny will approach the 100th. Overwhelmed judges have temporarily paused a fraction of their new dictatorship over democracy, suddenly on a ventilator, oxygen, and IV antibiotics. Even Trump's 6 Supreme Court hacks will outlaw some of his savagery, but also allow as much as these soiled black robes dare. Also wearing oxygenated masks amid the choking smoke from our burning up American Constitution. Perhaps never again to empower congressional laws to be faithfully executed, not machine gunned by the king, not president. Today, Musk and Trump held forth in the Oval Office, to their credit, taking a few questions from the press. Both of you promised total transparency, public honesty, revealing all of your new efficiency actions inside those government offices, taken with congressional spending oversight power only. You said that any conflicts of Mr. Musk's private interests with our public interests would be made clear to the American people, who of course could not trust you fellas to police yourselves in the dead of night. The reporter knew that the power pair had been secretly driving exactly their corruption across our government for weeks, as did 50 judges. But he wanted to hear their lying excuses. "My people," said Mr. Musk, "are conducting all such legal activities in total transparency." I was disappointed that the reporter's follow-up was not, "Does that explain your 19-year-olds ordering every bureaucrat out of the buildings while they rip all payment information out of computers while halting every payout ordered by Congress? Then every staffer gets an email from the Apprentice Star, 'You're fired.'" So Elon went on. "Any and all potential conflicts of interest revealed by me and my people are immediately eliminated." Dictator PR claiming law-abiding democracy remains every lying tyrant's foundation. An enraged 49% fully media accessing the truth still loses the next election. Big propaganda lies keep the 51% plurality, which actually gives pathetic Stevie hope. Boom me to enlighten and enrage 2 more percent, and we'll elect decent, human, smart Congresses and presidents. About liars' public power of persuasion, I quote Trump himself. "Rigged." And just keep saying it until they believe it. Strategy straight from Hitler's propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels' big lie. "Murder 40 million Jews, Europeans, and Russians for the glorious 1,000-year Aryan German Reich." After the 10,000th repetition, folks stopped throwing up, smiled, voted, and marched. The 1,000% accurate term, brainwashing. In the spring of 2025, up to 100 lawsuits will rise toward the Supreme Court, probably able and willing to order partial stoppages of an extremely deficient fraction of Trump's illegal power grabs. Trump's architects are ready. The president is already telling us courts have no right or business stopping me. Another 100% PR knowing lie, of course. He is already disobeying multiple court injunctions to stop this and restart that. Ignoring court orders is his planner's written policy. Extremely smart, because a Supreme Court already making all presidents immune from most prosecution, above and beyond indictment, conviction, or other enforcement of any law will realize, after ordering any part of the Constitution obeyed by Trump, oops, our immunity decision already told the world that no one can ever make any president obey any law ever again. Years ago, Donald knew his coronation was coming when he said, "I could start shooting people on Fifth Avenue and no one could do a thing about it." Back in 1974, America was still a democracy with an uncorrupted Supreme Court, which ruled that the Impoundment Control Act was unnecessary because the Constitution gave 100% of the power of the purse to Congress and 0% to the president, charged with always executing, never destroying the people's laws. This year you will watch a majority-corrupted high court spit repeatedly upon all predecessors' rulings and the full Constitution because 6 of 9 are fully captured by their cruel king, having been chosen by such corruptions to wreak Constitution-ending dictatorship. What can you do about this? Elect Congresses and President committed to restoring democracy against tyranny. Ordered then by you to pack 4 more Supreme Court constitutionalists added to the decent 3 to outvote the 6 turkeys gobbling us to death. Next, slam on up to our new majority the lawsuit to stop the money, honey. Ban private campaign finance, leaving equal for all candidate tax-funded public campaign finance. Haven't I proven that world war and nuclear doomsday will be caused if we don't and stopped if we do, making next our disarmament treaty possible? My thoughts on the number 2. I told you, teach 2% more Americans those better laws and candidates that they must boom to restore democracy and direct history's most powerful and inspiring nation to lead a world democracy and peace revolution. Today, 2 justices, the 5th and 6th money-bought monarchists, stand in our way. Your passion campaigned out for 1 month should recruit 2 more activists for our movement. 30 months of such doubling should secure the billion fighters to rescue us other 7 billion. My urgent demand to vote out legislators 100% captured by a dictator who will pour his massive private money power into primarying any lawmakers who vote against his proposed legislation or appointments ever is backed up by today's news. Texas Senator Ted Cruz, appreciating the need to decriminalize Trump's assassination of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has introduced legislation to dig the grave of the CFPB at the behest of Elon Musk, who just tweeted out his plan and action, a headstone engraved, CFPB RIP. Hardly a handful of 535 legislators do not know how the agency was born. In 2008, unregulated banks' wild speculation with our mortgage money, after soaring years to make them a mint, collapsed like a Tinker Toy house in a Richter 10 earthquake. Interest rates skyrocketed, 8 million mortgage holders were foreclosed on, 500 banks failed, and the American economy went south for years. Dodd-Frank legislation passed to make banks safeguard our mortgage money, and the CFPB was instituted to watch and stop hundreds of different business behaviors that were, not just maybe, harming consumers of banking, credit card, and other financial services. Recently, massively corrupt Congress gutted Dodd-Frank because their banker donors told them, "Let us all out to play again with people's mortgage money, or we'll bribe challengers to throw you out. Easy enough after we jerk your TV ad money." Ted will probably get his bill passed. Similar threats from King corruption scaring 100% of the 2-house tiny Republican majority to death and obedience. Congress, murdered by dirty money to the moon, does not exist at all. CFPB's death will push even more towards certainty another economic collapse. Just maybe a year or two later than the hundreds of legislators' career collapses, happily avoided by never crossing their godfather. I'll save a few words here because I have detailed to my listeners all clean new laws of democracy that we must win to protect and defend our Constitution, lives, and future as rather few nations ever have before. Jackals reign to fast doomsday unless you and I lawfully stop the sons of bitches. Gargle soap, Steve, and behave. Our Christian Bible tells us that the truth shall set us free. So why don't our leaders tell and obey the truth? Or give a rat's ass about their entire constituency's humanity? I'll repeat Sinclair Lewis, who wrote about Chicago meatpacking companies bribed by investors to prepare meat cheaply and deadly disease infected for higher profits. You can't make a man see the truth who's being paid not to. What have the perps learned in 100 years? To jack the bribes 1,000-fold, murdering hundreds of millions worldwide with arsenals bought by governments, paid by weaponeers to commit, not just ignore, genocide. I'm old, but I refuse to die until you stop corrupt inhumanity cold. Yeah, I'm just an old guy stuck in habitual compulsive behavior. World horror stories from my all-night radio. The death-for-profit political machine fastened to our tax money. The substantial but not too complex group of new laws to enforce existing constitutions and peace treaties, and some quite new, stronger, more specific, timely laws and projects to reverse deadly new crises. My stories detail how and why public parasites like Putin, Trump, and Netanyahu land on steaming piles of government money corruption like flies on shit. Every leader brings different sorts of megalomania, greed, and bigotry to their agendas against humanity that our movement and treaty schools must educate about, promoting just good laws and wise active public love to overcome, conquer, and destroy that evil. I want you to know things that I prove with history, his story. Every one of its 1 billion war murdered, 95% civilians were slaughtered by weapons that our movement must destroy. They were also all killed by bigoted haters, not so much by the ordered, propagandized soldiers, but by leaders fanning our hate to serve their bigger motives, money and power. Before we win our peace treaty, that world teaches love, respect, and equality of all colors, faiths, and flags, we must Skype and Zoom our own world classes and collaboration to design life-saving law. I speak to grow your action motives. You fear human suffering and death crashing into your own family if you do nothing but wait. Your active love will explode ever higher as you collaborate far and wide for lifelong rescues of your loved ones and everybody else's, thanks to your organized until success public reforms. Dive into endeavors more high stakes, high octane, righteous, rewarding, and loving than anything you've ever done. Except the zillion joyous, loving, crucial things most every family does with and for each other. All of which are gonna come to a truly horrible, premature, probably first extended suffering end unless you and a billion of your closest friends get cracking to save our human family. The very bunch that will then keep coming to your family's rescue.